Welcome to Red Moon Roleplaying. In this short campaign, Hjalmar, Craig, and myself will venture into the worlds of the Scarred Lands from Onyx Path Publishing, using the Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition rules. Our dungeon master for this campaign will be none other than our good friend, the Gentleman Gamer Matthew Dawkins, and he will lead us as we attempt the Great Vilhaim Heist. So, without further ado, Scarn and the Scarred Lands awaits.
Welcome to the world of Scarn, the Scarred Lands, so named due to the Titans' War that only took place in living memory for some beings. Certainly the elves, the dwarves remember it, many others do as well. That war between titans and gods, where the world itself was shorn, scarred, racked, where seas started running red with blood, where entire forests were swept away, great chasms opened, volcanoes emerged spitting up magma and destroying entire cities. When the gods and the titans warred, humans, Asathi, Slytherin, halflings, dwarves, elves, orcs, all the rest were caught in the middle. Some chose to fight for the gods, some chose to fight for the titans. Some claim to have been created by the gods, some claim the titans as their ancestors, their godlings. The war was only going to end one way, with the titans falling. It had been predicted and the titans did everything they could to prevent it. But fall they did. But it is difficult to kill something godlike. Even gods cannot slay other gods. For that to happen, it takes the right kind of hero. And so, Scarn of today sees a graveyard of titans, littered around the land, under the sea, buried in the mountains, scattered in some cases, but still almost conscious, just turning in their sleep, wanting to wake, waiting for that pull of worship, the right artifacts to be assembled in the right order, to lift them from their comas and bring them back to the world that they believe belongs to them. Characters in the Scarred Lands are well acquainted with mythology, but for them it is not simple myth. This is history. This is something they will have heard about firsthand if they did not witness some of it themselves. On treks from town to town, they may have seen a tower shaped like a foot and been reliably informed that that was a foot. That was a foot of a titan. And you do not access that tower, you do not enter it despite the riches, the magical treasures that might be within, because all the titanspawn living within it are likely to be children of that titan, and make manifest in whatever portfolio that titan once represented. They will have had to have crossed great chasms. These characters will have had to have survived in arid deserts that were once verdant fields, just to get from place A to place B. So everyone knows their history. And in a world that's so scattered and broken, scarred as this, there are great fortunes to be made. The days of heroes are still ongoing. It's a time of recovery. It's a time of opportunity. And so that is where we meet our characters. Not all of them are benevolent, not all of them are noble. In fact, each of them has a darker side. And when we come to them, they are at a trading post. This trading post known as the Wise Man's Trading Post. It is in South Zathisk, a once rich and green land where cinnamon and spice trees grew, and in fact it acted as one of the richest countries in the entire continent of Gelspad. But during the Titans' War, it was stricken by famine. Curses and plagues rode across the land, killing hundreds, thousands even, blighting the crops. And only now is it seeing signs of recovery as its trading posts, its mercenary towns, its market villages start to flourish once more. Zathis could be the glittering jewel in Gelspad. It's on the south coast. It overlooks the blossoming sea. And our characters are at a humble trading post in the middle of an expanse of plains. Once upon a time, trees stood around here. Now, just shorn off stumps and broken rocks are the only things to mark this land beyond the trading post in which you are sat. May I have some introductions for your characters and what you are doing here?
I'm looking up at the sun. How did we end up here? We were supposed to find an artifact of great value. An artifact from the Serpent Mother. That's what we were told anyway. But it turned out to all be a bunch of bull. Just lies. And now we're here. And the money's starting to run out. And that merchant over there, that jewelry that he's wearing, that looks valuable. I find my eyes going towards any valuables here, and there's quite a few.
The elf, bedecked in jewellery, off his fingers, off his wrists, round his neck, is very much wearing the noble fashions of the time. In Zathisk, the Asathi are seen as something of a trendsetter, it should be said, following the Titans' War. And so, the jingle of jewellery and rattle with movement is something a lot of the elves and humans in this part of the world try to emulate. As far as you're concerned, he looks like a overdressed pudding. But he's there, marking up ledgers, occasionally greeting customers. People aren't travelling here with any intent. This is a stop-off point, a place where you might replenish your stock before moving to an actually wealthy town. But given how bejeweled he is, maybe he has a little bit of power to him, or maybe some others are looking out for his interests.
Could be. And I'm looking at myself, having had to sell off whatever jewelry I had, and now I'm just wearing my normal leather armor. Got my golden brown scales and long slender tail. But other than that, I look poor. This is not how things are supposed to be. Better times better be waiting around the corner. And I look to my traveling companion. Who do I have with me?
Well, with you have an individual who in some ways seems quite similar. He is, after all, an Asafi. Lot thinner than you, very frail looking, almost as if a gust of wind could break him in two the second it came. But he doesn't move as if he is weak. He moves confidently. He looks a little better off than you because, well, I am dressed in some very fine clothing. Granted, it's, in my opinion, very simple travelling garb, but to some people, they would consider this garb extremely inornate and decorated, embroidered with swirling patterns of black and gold, which contrast with my own grey and black scales. I don't have much on my person, it seems, just a few belts and a small iron rod that is attached to my belt at all times, and a dagger in another small pocket. Nearby, though, I am administering to a small pony that I own. Currently, loaded down with packs of traveling goods and supplies which are running out. Of course, I've made sure that my personal supplies are slightly better kept than my companions, but that's fine, because he doesn't need as much as me. He's used to living a rough and tumble life. And I sort of look at him, looking around anxious and worried, as he always is, thinking to myself, he really needs to lighten up more. Here we are, in a fine new location. I wonder what opportunities could await.
The trading post is largely open to the environment. There's a couple of closed-off buildings, but this isn't an inn. You wouldn't stay here for longer than it would take for you to exchange your goods, make your money, and get moving. On the horizon, you can see the dust being kicked up from horses approaching. It's late afternoon. The sun is on its way to setting, but you can make up enough motion in the distance to know that there's a few riders pelting their way towards the trading post. They're galloping. Even the elf behind his ledgers looks up, raises an eyebrow, and says "dear, dear, dear," before going back. And to dress up the rest of the trading post for you, so you're aware what's there, it's largely a place for the exchange of grain and spices. There's some private sales being made here. The appeal of having a place like this in the middle of nowhere is its neutral ground. You don't have to worry about paying any of the tolls or having your goods checked, as you would if you were entering one of the cities of Zaemon or Galor. So, these trading posts are ostensibly free posts for exchange of goods. Except, of course, there will usually be mercenaries here designated to defend the location and the goods. And there are a few guards here about. They're not wearing any insignia, but you can tell what they're supposed to be. They're leaning on posts, playing dice, generally occupying themselves while keeping a beady eye on a few of the people in here. Of the other individuals that are within this trading post, you have a dwarf who is currently loading barrels onto a cart, and there's a couple. You think they're romantically involved, two humans that have arrived on horse and are currently unloading their saddlebags for delivery over to the elf and his ledgers. You assume he is the person you go to for making your purchases and sales if you're buying from the trading post, or if you want mediation for trading with others. In terms of anyone selling something, there's an old woman, long white hair, goes down to her waist. She looks ancient. You suspect she saw the beginning of the Titans' War. She's that old. Her face lined with deep wrinkles, deep enough to be called chasms of their own. And she arrived on her own cart, has a selection of weapons, largely of iron, swords and axes. You suspect she's picked them up from some battlefield somewhere rather than crafting them herself or buying them fresh from a blacksmith. That's all there is at the Wise Man's trading post.
Kadar, we need to find this contact, this man from the triangle.
Yes, I know. Well, what are you waiting for? Go and find them for me.
Very well. And I look around. I try to judge whether or not anyone here might look like they could be connected to the triangle. I am, after all, knowledgeable about the world of thieves.
Yeah, you look for the telltale signs of a member of the Thieves' Guild. Certainly these kinds of trading posts are where thieves will often make their services known. There's perhaps an irony there that in a place where you are supposed to legitimately buy and sell goods, thieves also sell their wares. But you're not immediately able to identify a member of the Triangle. Maybe, though, you could make a roll. An intelligence ability check, please.
Alright, I shall do just that. 15.
15. Okay, that's impressive. Your eyes are immediately drawn to the guards. The elf at the desk is too ostentatious, really, for a member of the Triangle. They're not that brazen about displaying their wealth. So perhaps it's one of the more mundane individuals around. There's an orc guard, there's a human with her, and you're looking for any of the signs. The Triangle often wear something of silver about their person, to the extent now that in the city of Pajam, silver is widely outlawed in case you happen to be one of these thieves. You're not seeing anything, but as your eyes cast around you and you take in the other individuals at the trading post, you notice the dwarf who's just finished loading a barrel, rolling it off of his chest into the back of the cart, and then standing it up. Looks in the distance of the horses approaching, and as he looks, his lips part slightly, and you see his teeth. His 4 front teeth are all glistening silver in the sunset.
Then I have found him. I have found the contact. I try to discreetly walk up to him and stand close to him, looking not directly at him, but in another direction, but close enough that he would hear what I have to say.
Before you're able to grab his attention, in the distance of those horses approaching, something far more terrifying than riders can be seen. Your first instinct is to look at the ground, to see whether there's horsemen in pursuit. Maybe some kind of fell beast roiling around on the ground, pursuing them. But no, it doesn't take more than a couple of seconds for your eyes to go up. There's a winged beast, possibly some kind of dragon, in hot pursuit. And hot is the operative word, because even in this sunset, where the sky is turning pink, you can see the smoulder of flame and smoke from this creature's wings and back, as it bucks and twists in the sky in the strange way that it flies. One of the horsemen reaches the trading post and shouts out, "Fire rack dragon!" and then continues riding. His companion, a little further behind, the horse has had enough of this treatment. It's probably been galloping at full tilt for a while yet. If a fire rack dragon has been in pursuit, it bucks off its rider and turns sideways, heading out across the plain. The guards, who were previously at ease, look over to the elf. The elf says, "Well, you know your duties. You're supposed to defend this place." At which point the guards make for their horses and bolt. There's a general sense of confusion and alarm at the trading post as the dragon very quickly makes its way through the sky towards this only structure for miles around.
No. I start running towards Kadar. Gotta get out of here. We can't fight a dragon.
I would be prone to agree with you. Let's get out of here quickly. And I will quickly run over to start getting my pony ready to get out of here. Come, forsooth, we need to be going.
I'm just looking around, panicked, just like, oh, no, this is not fast enough, and then I just bolt off by myself and I try to hide.
There are, of course, very few places to hide in an open structure such as this, but you do your best. By all means, roll a dexterity ability check, please, to find, to hide somewhere swiftly and before the dragon notices.
May I roll for stealth there?
Yes, of course you can.
I get 12.
12. The obvious place to hide is one of these closed-in structures. The alarming thing is they're made entirely of wood, so while you may well evade the dragon's gaze, if it decides to spit flame at you, you have just made yourself a crematorium.
That won't do. No, we have to get out of here on the pony, then I have to help Kadar. Come on. I start trying to help you to get the pony to move and do whatever I can to lift any bags that you have. Come on.
And I will do my best to try and get the pony ready to go, although it occurs to me that then riding away on a small little pony probably would make me quite a large target. I look around. Is no one trying to do anything about this dragon? What do I know about firecrag dragons? How mighty a foe even is this?
Let's do an intelligence roll for you, please. What do you know about fire rack dragons?
Survival probably wouldn't be relevant here.
Yeah, no, I'd be happy for you to use survival. It's a particularly pressing concern.
In that case, I'll make a wisdom check instead for survival. And that's a natural 1.
You thought they'd all died out. That you had heard they were all the champions and commanders of the Titan armies, but you had thought they had all died out. This is the first time you have seen hind or hair of a dragon. And so with a natural 1, you are paralysed with a mixture of fear and awe at the size of this thing swooping down from the sky toward you. What about our rattling friend in the trading post? What's he up to?
As people are starting to run, right and left, around me, I slowly put down my bowl, wiping my mouth. I sit there, I have my great sword beside me. I am Attila, the Slytherin, or as you would call it, Rat Man. I have a brown, greying, tufty fur. I look very old, but I move with the speed of someone who had yet 400 more years to live. Though most people know Slytherin rarely lives behind their 40s, this one has clearly outlived his purpose. I brush off my purple clothing, dark purple, looking like a nice set of clothes, something a servant of a nobleman would wear. And I stand up and I look at this fierce creature. Is it still in the skies coming towards us?
Yes, all of this is taking place in a matter of seconds. You estimate it won't be longer than about 10 seconds before it is directly above you.
I see the guards running for their horses. I don't know if I know anything about this kind of creature, but I know that I've never fought a dragon before. And I am taken by curiosity, and I feel it stir within me. As I reach for my greatsword, I look over at my lizard standing nearby. Probably, I don't know how it is reacting to this, my big lizard mount.
Your lizard mount is strangely not alarmed by a fire rack dragon. It probably should be, but the thing with lizard mounts is they're either incredibly lazy or very much active, and unless threatened, such as right now, it doesn't feel threatened. So it's just lazing there, waiting for you to give it a kick.
It's found a pleasant spot in the sun that it doesn't seem too eager to move from. As I brush off my clothes, I move over slowly to it, eyeing what's happening. I mount up, I put my greatsword on my back, and I reach for my lance that I have attached to its saddle, and I make my way towards the guards, or actually I'm trying to circle around it a bit to see if there's any place. I'm starting to move around to see if I will be able to flank it if it decided to land, or if the guards attacked it from one way.
You would be able to attack it. If it decided to land and not just blast you from the sky, then Certainly. There's enough open space around here that you could probably get around it. You might be able to strike it a blow, but whether that would be sufficient enough before it then turns around and just devours or incinerates you, that's the payoff you have to weigh up. Complicating the matter is, of course, the fact that the guards are fleeing. So any anticipated flanking maneuver would need to be performed by someone else.
I see this, and I am disappointed. I can't fight this thing alone. And, I look around. Is there anyone taking up weapons against it?
The elf has died. Well, it has basically fallen to his knees, is hiding underneath his portable desk, and you can hear him praying to one of the gods. The old lady has grabbed one of her swords from her cart and is holding it unsteadily, shakily. She's probably older than you, and almost as tough and leathery. The dwarf, with his barrels, is backing up into the cart. Doesn't appear to be a natural fighter by any means, and hasn't taken up a crossbow or anything like that. And that really just leaves the couple of travellers who are armed, and they're standing back to back and making a circle, just in case the dragon decides to fly over and then attack, but they realise their plight. You can see it on their faces. They know that if they try and remount their horses and flee, the dragon will catch up to them soon enough. They're exchanging some words, but really they're just in defensive posture. And then, of course, there's the two Asathi, one of whom seems to be struggling to get on a pony or wake the pony up and then freezing in absolute fear, while the other one is bemoaning him and telling him to get a damn move on.
I look over to them, and they seem slightly more capable than the others, and I see the adventurers ready themselves as well as they can as well. I try to ride up to the two Asathi as quickly as I can, and I wheeze out in a strange tongue. It sounds different than how you would expect a Slytherin to talk. It's almost with a sort of dwarvish accent.
What are you doing there? Get out of there! Get yourself ready! That thing is not gonna let you escape!
I think you might be right. I reach for my short bow, and I start getting ready for a fight, because I don't think that we can flee from this anymore. This damn pony and Kadar with all his jewelry, we cannot flee with that. I look to my newfound Slytherin friend. Where do you want me?
Spread out, in case it breathes fire on us.
And I do just that, and I dash off and move to open up some distance between myself, Kadar, and the Slytherin.
I feel my blood is rushing through my veins. The adrenaline is coming on. I feel drool running down the sides of my mouth.
The Fire-Act Dragon arrives. Arrive is maybe too basic, not dramatic enough a word, because as it swoops down over the trading post, beating its wings, it's less the force from the wings that makes you recoil and more the heat. This creature's body is searing hot. It is as if made of smouldering timbers and burned flesh, searing coals, and you can feel it on the air. It prickles your skin, it singes any hairs you might have, obviously as an Asathi, maybe not, but your clothes start burning. It beats its wings and crashes intentionally to the ground on its hind claws, at which point it makes to belch out a flame. It looks like it's intending on firing straight through the trading post, which would capture in its blast the two young travellers and the old armed woman. This does put you on either side of its landing position.
Get out of there! I shout to them as they're standing there, uselessly, and I try to circle around the dragon as it's breathing in. The only thought going through my head is that if we prove ourselves too much of a nuisance, then maybe it'll decide to leave us.
Okay, I'm going to make everyone roll initiative.
My initiative is 7.
14.
7 for me as well.
The dragon gets a 19. So we will deal with the Fire-Act dragon first. The dragon's head leans back, its long neck coiling up, and then the head jolts forward, belching forth a torrent of flame, magma, rocks. It's a living furnace bursting out from its throat and utterly consuming those individuals in its path. This trading post is 3 humans down, because once the flames die away, there's little more than ash where they were stood.
I look on in horror.
There's a laugh from the dragon after it's finished spitting. A very almost human laugh.
I shout at the dragon then, I suppose. What are you laughing at? Why are you coming down like this?
So you are trying to get the dragon's attention.
Yeah, it feels strange that it's laughing. It feels as if it's communicating.
It turns its head. It looks straight at you. Its eyes narrow. Its mouth, which I suppose, for want of a better word, can be described as wolfish, grins, allowing you to see every single one of its glowing red and black teeth. It growls. Now, I'm going to allow the other players to say whether they want to act or whether they want to hold their action to allow the dragon to do whatever it's about to do.
Well, there I am, slightly far away from everything, as I simply marvel at the impossibility of this being existing. But then I think to myself after a few seconds that I'm not an idiot. I guess they're not all dead. There's no way I'm going to be able to ride out of here in the next few seconds, so instead I'll have, once my pony was free, simply slapped him hard on the back, saying, "Run, forsooth, run!" hoping he'll bolt away. And then while I'm there, how far away now am I from this beast? Am I about to get, do I think, breathed on and incinerated?
I'm going to say the dragon is looking in the opposite direction to where you are. So you are on its other side. If you imagine the dragon's body is facing south, its head has just turned east, but the body is exactly where the body was before. This creature is huge in size, it should be noted. You most certainly are not.
I think to myself as I look to my left and see a large Slytherin coming up and shouting at this being. He must be insane, but that could work. That could be a good thing. I look to my right to see my companion, of course, running away to hide in the shadows, but to be honest, that's what he does. I think how irritating it is that of all the creatures to meet, I had to find one that was fire-based. I'm normally quite a fan of fire, after all, but something tells me bathing this creature in a ball of fire is going to just make it annoyed. So instead, I'll have to rely on something else. I raise my iron rod and hold it out before me, and begin to summon not flames, but shadows. I cast Arms of Hadar, which means black, shadowy tendrils come out, as long as the creature is within 10 feet of me, which I believe it would be, as it was quite close. Yes?
Mm-hmm. I will accept that.
It must now make a strength save. On a fail, it'll take 4d6 necrotic damage, for I'm casting this, of course, at level 3. And it won't be able to take any reactions till its next turn. On a success, it will only take half damage and suffer no other effects.
As black tendrils reach from the ground and loop around some of the scales of this smouldering creature, it does successfully save against your spell, but that does not mean it goes completely without harm. It effectively snaps 2 of the necrotic tentacles, but another 2 latch on and sap a little bit of life from the fire-rack dragon. Please roll for your damage and tell me exactly how much damage you do to this colossal beast.
I shall. I roll 4d6, which is 14, which would be halved.
The damage appears to make the dragon wince, but not turn from its current prey. Your attempts to draw its attention, maybe, or again make it think of you as more trouble than the time it's worth to kill you, doesn't appear to have been effective.
Unfortunate. Still, I do kind of look at this rat man and really hope he takes a hint. And then I do spend my movement after the attack, moving as fast as I can away, ideally behind something.
Yeah, as you've already used part of your action, you can move up to 30 feet away in the opposite direction. And in terms of what there is to hide behind, this particular location is almost entirely wooden. You have wooden carts, you have wooden buildings surrounding the trading post, and there's tree stumps. It is just about the worst place to hide in the case of a fire.
So I might start trying to at least exit the building, if I can.
Yeah, or digging a hole to make your burial quicker.
Indeed, and that ends my turn.
I see tendrils forming up around it, and I see it snap off 2 of them, sort of with its hind legs, not really bothering too much. And it's still being focused on me, despite wincing. I say, "What's your purpose here, beast? Why are you coming down to this trading post?"
And you're speaking in the common trader's tongue, aren't you?
At this point, I'm not sure what would most easily come through to it.
I think it would make sense that in duress you're likely to speak in the common tongue rather than start adopting a second language. It growls. That dwarf. It turns its head slightly. Place the dwarf in my jaws, and I will go. The dwarf shouts out, Hold on a minute, mate."
And I don't hesitate 1 second, because I don't think there's a chance we can kill the dragon. I'd rather be in favor of it. And I just spur my lizard mount towards the dwarf in full speed.
Whoa, no, don't you do it. Look, I know, he's shouting over at the dragon. I know, I haven't paid up yet. I know I still owe you. You don't have to eat me. You're not going to get what you want if I'm dead, are you?
I see what the dragon do at this as I start circling around him.
Lava is leaking from the dragon's nostrils.
Is it listening to him?
It's listening, but doesn't appear to have changed its mind. Look, I know, I can see the nice show of strength. You burned some people. I can see what you can do. I already knew what you could do. That was a complete waste of time, but I appreciate the gesture nonetheless. I will get you what you need. Just please don't eat me.
As I hear the dwarf pleading for his life, I am wondering myself if this was supposed to be my contact down here. There was something big going on, and that's why I was sent out from the mountains. Do I know this dwarf's name? I don't think I had the name of the contact.
I'm going to ask you to do an intelligence roll again, please.
That's the natural 1.
You're not even sure if he's a dwarf or whether he's a human dressed up and just very short.
That's right, he doesn't look at all like the dwarves I'm used to. He even seems to have pretend teeth.
Yeah, exactly. What self-respecting dwarf would adorn his mouth with such a soft metal?
Seeing that my contact isn't in trouble, I mean, he's he's the only chance for us to get some money, to get something out of this completely wasted trip. I start moving up towards the dwarf. I want to try to save him somehow. I mean, I speak up to the dragon and I say, "Come now, if you eat him, he cannot give you what you want. Perhaps we can help you. Perhaps we can get you what he was supposed to get you. Something valuable, yes? We are capable, I assure you."
Perhaps I should eat you.
I don't think I will taste very good. I'm just a scrawny lizard, alright? Let me get you something valuable instead. You seem like you're the kind of creature who would enjoy something like that.
I like your argument. Roll a charisma ability check, please.
Alright. 15.
15, okay. The dragon snorts out a thick cloud of ash, heat, haze, and smoke. You think it's a laugh, or a chuckle. "Are these your boys, Aughty?" he addresses the dwarf. "Is this the best you've got?" "Oh yes. These are the best I've got. They're the Triangle's finest, every one of them, and that is exactly why they're here. They're here to get what you need. That is why we were supposed to be meeting up right here, and you turned up, and I'm not going to say you ruined it, but there's going to be a lot of explaining to do now. Don't push it, dwarf." No, of course not. So thing is, these three, they're the best. They're the best at what we need them for, and it just took them a long time to get here. If anything, it's on them, because they really dragged their heels in making their way to the Wise Man trading post. I told them about 3 months ago to come out here, and they've only just arrived on the day payments due, so if anything, blame them.
It's at this point I poke my head back into the building, having heard most of this conversation from afar, and just shoot this dwarf a very incredulous look and say, admittedly feeling a little silly talking to this beast, but as everyone else is doing it, well, of course I can do it too. After all, I'm better than my friends. "Now you see here. If anything, it's the other way around, mighty Firecrag Dragon. Our friend here is very incompetent, as you have shown him to be. If anything, it'd be much better for all of us if he was no longer involved. But yes, we, free," and I point at the Slytherin man.
I lean my lance back to set it at rest as I'm turning my head towards you.
"Indeed, us free are very skilled individuals. Much more than we seem. After all, I am a master of fire myself, although unfortunately against you, not very useful. But, yes, I am Kadar, of Clan Kaldash of the Jeweled City, famous for my many exploits. And if you need something, well, us free will happily get it for you. We don't even need this, dwarf. You can eat him if you want."
"Really? You would assume full reward for the service that I require?"
"Indeed. And if we should fail you, then you can eat us too, so you don't really lose much if you think about it." And I give him a very smuggish grin. But then I flourish with a little bow at the end as well.
And I just stare at Kadar with an incredulous look, like, what are you saying?
The dragon doesn't take much time to ascend about 20-30 feet into the sky with a sudden swoop of its wings and spit out a fireball that consumes the dwarf and the cart on which he has stood. It drives our Slytherin friend back, of course, as you were approaching the dwarf.
I think the whole lizard at this takes a leap backwards.
"Very well, assume the reward, assume the debt. If you fail, I will eat you all alive."
"That's only fair," I say, looking at the charred remains of the dwarf. Personally, I do feel a little bad about this. didn't deserve to die, but if this thing actually can listen to reason, it's much better to reason with it now than have it kill everyone in this village.
I think to myself that, well, we have a considerably more interesting employer right now.
It settles back on the ground.
I am not going to assume that you even know the purpose for which you are being hired. So I will make this simple for you, small folk.
I move my mount up towards it, listening intently.
What would you have us do?
The citadel of Vilhaim, on the blossoming sea. It is one of the grandest fortresses in all of Gelspad. It also contains the mercy armor of its first Lord Commander, Brunus the Unsung. That armor is for me. I would have it. You would recover it. You will bring it out from the citadel, from across the blossoming sea. You will bring it back here, exactly here. And then I will pay you.
Wonderful, I say, and flourish a little with a bow, clearly being practiced at this. Go to the citadel beyond the blossoming sea, get you the armor of mercy, and bring it back here. Why, that's a very fine deal. What else is in the citadel?
I would suggest, little lizard, that you find that out for yourself. I'm not some rat scout. Expect fine payment, in jewels, in coin, in whatever it is you seek.
And my eyes open up at the mention of jewels and coin. And I just nod. Yes, yes.
That's all well and good then. And what shall we call you, mighty dragon?
You can call me Rose Rock.
Rose Rock. And how much time do we have to perform this task?
In the time it takes for you to reach the citadel of Vilhaim, commit this petty theft and return here, you have 20 days, and I have your scent. And if you are not here in 20 days, I will find you.
But of course, and rightfully so. Alright then, I guess for now you won't be destroying the trading post, which is very gracious of you, I should say.
You say that in full knowledge that flames are currently licking up its beams, its roof. There's not going to be much left of the trading post by the time the fire rack has disappeared.
I think to myself that at least maybe I'm saving some lives, primarily mine, but also others.
Yeah. There's still an elf.
I feel how the drool has dried up on my fine clothes, and how the singeing of my fur is becoming a bit unbearable. I back off from the dragon. I tell my mount to back off, and I bow.
Fine. We will see you here in 20 days.
Very well. I will not wait longer than 20 days. My final word.
It takes to the sky.
If you should betray me, if you should have second thoughts when you get into that citadel, do not think I will be as merciful as the bearer of the mercy armor. It is for me.
It takes off vertically, almost jetting into the sky, and then swoops away in the direction from whence it came.
I'm thinking to myself as I sort of pat my fur where it's been singed. Have I ever heard of this mercy armor? I have a fair bit of knowledge about crafted items and history.
I'm prepared to allow you to do either intelligence or wisdom at this point, because intelligence for essentially your scholarly knowledge of such things, wisdom in terms of your common law of such things.
Could I use a bit of history knowledge then?
Yes, definitely.
I roll 16.
Okay, yeah, you've heard of the Mercy Armour. So the Mercy Armour was the full plate worn by a great champion of the gods known as Brunus. However, also known as Brunus the Unsung. You don't know exactly where that epithet came from, although you could no doubt find out. The reason the armour was seen as so important was for a couple of reasons. One, it was a purely white metal, and it was very unusual. No one alive today can attest to its composition, what made it such. The second was that the wearer of the Mercy armour was supposedly entirely impervious to flame. It granted the wearer an immunity. Third main point of the Mercy armour, and from where it gets its name, is supposedly, if the legends are true, if wearing the Mercy armour, you cannot kill a single foe. You just cannot do it. If you were in combat with someone and you were prepared to strike the killing blow, the armour would prevent your arm from descending with a dagger into the man's heart. You would stop short. So it has its benefits, it has its drawbacks, but mostly it's known as being worn by Brunus when he fought in the war between Titans and gods. He was but a mortal man, as far as you're aware, but ended up leading this so-called Citadel of Vilhaim in what was ostensibly a guard's post for the rest of his natural life.
And this goes through my head as I see the flames rising around me, and I look over to the two Asathis, and I sort of eye them up. I got a good description of how Kadar looked, but how does this Thashath look?
Thashath is wearing leather armor and, well, not that much else really. He's got a short bow and a scimitar by his side. Not the kind of jewelry that you're used to seeing on a Sathi. As I said, he looks rather poor and worse for wear. When you first saw him, he looked sort of disappointed and tired. But having heard the words of this dragon, you see that his eyes have lit up, and he looks like he has anticipation for something great to come.
That is good. I move up to you on my beast, and I look down at you from there, though it's not very high because it sticks pretty close to the ground. And you notice now that I have an eye patch over one of my eye, and the other eye is graying. You're not sure how much I actually see through it, but it is a strange sight of this tufty, now singed rats in the noble servant's clothes coming up on this battle lizard. And I say,
So, we're supposed to be doing this together? I didn't realize I had friends in this mission.
I don't think we have that much of a choice in the matter, although you do seem capable sorts. It was that or that dragon having us for well dinner, and I'd much rather do this thing and perhaps even get paid. That's actually why we were here in the first place, and well, dragons do have hoards, they say, right? Gold, jewels, all that. Perhaps this is the chance to get something out of this failed trip that we've been on, me and Kadar here.
Well, not to mention, Fasaf, that this one's crazy. But I like you. You went up to the flaming dragon and said hello. Luckily for you, it turns out that it was able to speak, which was then lucky for all of us, because otherwise we'd have just been running away. But if something can speak, it can be reasoned with, and if it can be reasoned with, then I am the one to do it. Isn't that right, Fasaf? And I give him a slap on the back, laughing as this trading post is burning around us.
I just... of course.
I nod down at them, seemingly approvingly. I look very wiry, and you see how suddenly my tail flicks up to where I was holding my lance, and suddenly the lance is no longer in my hand, but on its way down to be fastened to the beast's saddle. I seem surprisingly elegant in my movements when they come, and I say,
Well, that's fine. It seems that we have a pretty tough task ahead of us. The Citadel of Vilhaim and the Mercy Armor, that's no mean feat if we were to bring those out.
Do I know anything of this citadel itself?
Good question. You're not exactly from around here, so I'm going to make you do an intelligence roll, please.
Yes, well, I am a bit of a historian myself, so maybe some history will give me a little boost to this roll. And I roll 18.
18, wow, okay, yes, you do know a fair amount about this citadel. While you've never visited it yourself, because why would you? The Citadel of Vilhaim is a large fortress which is out to sea, on its own island. For all intents and purposes, it is a folly. It is a massive expense to have built it, because the rock that was used to construct it certainly didn't come from the island on which it was built. It's manned constantly by guards. There are people that live there too. And a paltry amount of crops can be grown, but mostly fish is the primary form of sustenance, although obviously things are taken from the docklands inland to the citadel. You are of the understanding that the citadel was built on top of a titan, or is an outgrowth of a titan, or it was put there to stop a titan from waking up. One of those is probably true. You're not sure exactly what, because you weren't involved in the planning. What you do know is that the government of Zathisk and more largely Gelspad see it as important to keep the citadel manned, and whatever it is that the individuals who live in the citadel do with their time, they do it daily. It's no place to go for the sightseeing or for any kind of fun or leisure. It has an atmosphere of grimness, of fatalism, that people who have visited there have reported on. Certainly traders have tried to go there before. Of particular interest to you, and likely why you would have heard of it at all, is its supposed treasury. There's a large armory beneath the citadel, at least so the rumours go, containing an awful lot of armours, weapons, and artefacts from the war with the Titans. Some of which were possessed by titanspawn and locked away. You have heard of the Mercy armour being a part of this assembly.
I take a moment to bite my lip and fiddle with my iron rod that I start twirling around in my hand before I remark, "So, the Citadel. You know, it is rumoured that there are indeed many treasures there. Unfortunately, it's so guarded by an awful lot of people, and for good reason, because they're probably doing something important like, oh, I don't know, guarding a titan, or stopping it being risen. So there would be an awful lot of armed individuals in a keep that's only real purpose, most think, is simply to guard things. So, certainly going to be a little challenge. Fasaf, come! Ring off your ideas for me." And I sort of, at this point, start moving out of the burning building and whistle, hoping that my dear pony, forsooth, will return.
The elf, who had until now been praying and cowering stands up, brushes himself off, and you hear him mutter, "The gods must have answered my prayers," before he sees the three of you, and then looks around for a horse.
I look over at the elf. Was one rich merchant, wasn't it? With all the jewelry and all that.
Mm-hmm.
And he doesn't have a way of getting out of here, it seems.
Nope.
I eye him up and down, and then I look over to my friend, and I say,
Looks like our friend here has been left all alone.
That's a pity. That's a pity. Maybe we should go over and help him. Yes, I shall do that. Yes. And I start moving up to this elf.
and I take the rear behind Thashath.
The elf looks at the three of you. He knows this isn't going to go well. So he doesn't even say, "Thank you for saving me." He doesn't say, "I don't suppose you could lend me one of your steeds." He just starts taking the jewellery off and saying, "Please just take it."
Thank you. I was about to ask. That's very considerate of you, I say, and I move up and I start helping him to take that jewelry, and I start putting it on myself. Starting to feel like myself again. That's a wonderful feeling.
I look through my saddlebags and I throw over a bag of small rations, enough for him to keep going a little while, and I say,
Thank you. That's ample payment.
and then I think of which way would we start heading then, if we're going to head for some sort of ferry or port town that is close to Vilhaim or the Citadel, or...
You've never headed any farther south than this, to be honest, so this elf may be your best guide. This elf who you have just mugged.
It's at this point that I, first of all, did my pony return at my whistle?
Yes.
Oh, good. I'll give it an affectionate pat and I'll turn round. I, of course, missed the exchange they just did where they were mugging him, and I come over and go, "Ah, and we are being rewarded as well for saving the trading post. I mean, yes, granted, your trading post is probably going to need a lot of renovation.
A burning beam crashes behind you.
But don't worry, I'm not a man who leaves people to die. Isn't that right, Fasaf?"
Of course, Kadar. Yes, you're always generous.
Very generous. Come, friend, come closer. What was your name again?
You want to know my name?
Of course. It's not like we're mugging you or anything, I say, completely oblivious to what just happened.
He looks quite confused at all of this.
I look between the two as well, not really sure what's going on after what we just did.
It's Handstar. You can call me Handstar.
Handstar. Oh, very good name. Tell me, Handstar, do you know the best way to get to the Citadel from here? If so, we'd be willing to take you along with us. After all, I notice you have no mount, so can't just leave you here. That'd be very uncivilized.
Well, the Citadel is on the sea, so you would need to head to one of the port towns or less reputable docks. The low, judging, not attempting to cast judgment, mind you, but I assume from the kinds of professions that the three of you seem to lead, that you're more likely to go for the less reputable place. I mean no offence. So Lodock in the southwest would probably be your best bet. It will take you about a day and a half ride to reach there from here.
Well, that's certainly useful, although, dear me, least reputable? I will have you know, my boy, I am very reputable. So what would actually be the most reputable place we could go for help?
Zagend is probably double that time if you head southeast. directly south from here, you will reach the cliffs in a day and a half, but there's no built-up towns unless you decide to head west towards Lodok or east towards Zagend.
Zagend.
If all you need is a fishing boat, then just head south and wait until you find a village, I suppose.
Lodok sounds like a lovely place, don't you think, Kadar? It sounds like it would have exactly what we need. And now we know where it is, too. Very kind.
Indeed. Which of course means you should pay the man something. Come, you've got... How many bracelets did you take off him? It's very kind of you to offer everything you own to these two. But come you two, come on, give him something back.
I give him back one ring. Take this one, it looks like it has sentimental value to you.
He thanks you half-heartedly and cries a little.
Ah, yes, I know, my friend. We came very close to death today, and this certainly would be upsetting to most. You know, I feel bad that we can't offer you a mount. I tell you what, if you ever find yourself in the Jeweled City, simply come by the clan of Clan Kaldash and say Kadar sent you. They might be able to get you some work.
I thank you for your generosity.
No, don't mention it. Clan Kaldash is very generous, isn't it?
Very generous, yes, of course.
Right, well, come on then. Let's all not stand around in a burning building.
And we start heading southwest towards Lodok.
And as we start riding, I note down this.
Kadar, is it?
Yes, of Clan Kaldash.
Kadar of Clan Kaldash. And Thashath, did you say?
Yes, Vashath.
Of the same clan?
No. Vadash is of the same clan. Did you hear that? What an amusing joke. I like this one.
I just look at Kadar and then I just shake my head.
Attila. That's my name. I can kill if I need to. I can stay out of sight if I need to. That's all you need to know, I suppose.
I think we will need both. The Citadel awaits.
Indeed. And you see, Fasaf, wasn't it nice to actually help someone for once? You have to forgive my companion. He has this thing of always wanting to just steal everything he sees in front of him. But we're trying to teach him that sometimes it's better to get them more cleverly. Isn't that right, Fasaf?
Absolutely right, yes. And I just jingle the jewelry that I have.
Seeing you jingle them, I do hold out a hand.
And I hand over one ring.
And I keep my hand there for a little while.
And one of the bracelets as well.
And I nod and go, ah, yes, of course, you shouldn't be helping us for free. If anything, we're hiring you, and I can always use more hands for what I do. But yes, this is a good opportunity, friends. You see, okay, I personally don't really want to steal a lovely suit of armor for a firecrag dragon. I would prefer it if we could kill the beast, but, not going to happen, is it? However, Fasaf, maybe there will be something actually valuable in the Citadel itself that we can reclaim for the Jeweled City. The Queen could be very happy with that.
Yes, reclaim it for Mormo. And then I just look as if I said something I wasn't supposed to say. I mean, yeah, for the Jewel City, yes.
I give Fasaf a bit of a look, and then I do look to Attila.
I narrow my eyes a bit.
You're Titan worshippers.
That's just tradition. I mean, yeah. The Serpent Mother created us. It's like celebrating. You have some holidays you celebrate that you don't even really know why you celebrate. It's like that. With Mormo, the Serpent Mother. Praise be on her name.
Unfortunately, Fasaf here is a little backward. It's part of the reason why he's in the position he's in, working for individuals like myself, rather than actually, doing useful stuff. But don't worry, it's just a little superstition he has. I revere all the true gods equally.
I shrug as we move on, and I say,
well, I'm not immediately sent here on my own accord. My lords have an interest in this, whatever was supposed to happen today. And, well, now we're doing this. I suppose it'll bring something back.
Indeed. It's quite exciting. Of course, we are going to have to figure out the best way of getting into the Citadel, getting the items, and trying not to kill too many people, because, well, I mean, they're good people doing their jobs, really. I don't really see why. Besides, I don't actually think attacking all the guards would be a very good idea. Probably going to be a lot of them. No, we have to come up with something cleverer.
I agree. I think we will find what we need in Lodok, perhaps, yes, and then we sneak through the shadows onto the Citadel, and there we will find the coin and we will find the jewels. It will be a good time.
Indeed. You see, Attila, I'm always telling Fasafir to enjoy life more, and he's finally starting to listen to me, which he really should. I know a lot.
What do you know about the Mercy armor?
I don't know. It's armor, it's merciful. I haven't really heard of it.
Well, just that. The thing is, it might not be posed up on a museum or on a pedestal. It might well be worn by someone. It has a property of rendering the wearer immune to flame, but also the wearer cannot kill. At least that's what the legend says. The legend about Brunus, the unsung, the champion of the gods. Well, what do I know? I suppose it'd be interesting to find out. I could see why a dragon of that kind would have an interest in such an item not being readily available.
Yes, indeed.
What a good thing to know! Isn't this a useful man, Fasaf?
Very useful, Kadar, very useful.
Well, in that case, let us go to the... Where did he say again, Attila? I can't remember. You two can lead the way.
Southwest, to Lodok.
To Lodok it is. And I dust myself off, making sure that any singed clothing is no longer too singed. Look at Fasaf and motion, and you can hand me one of those rings, the nice one with the green emerald.
I look disappointed and then I hand the ring over to him. All of a sudden there's fewer rings. This is not enough. I need more.
And I think of the last image of Orti the dwarf turning into a smouldering pile of melting skin as we make our way towards Lodok.
You have listened to an episode of Red Moon Role-Playing, where we play the adventure The Great Vilhaim Heist for Scarred Lands for Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. Our dungeon master was the Gentleman Gamer Matthew Dawkins, and we would like to thank him and Onyx Path Publishing for doing this actual play production together with us. The music was made by Ager Sonus and Lesa Listvi, and was used with permission from their label Cryo Chamber. You can find more delicious dark ambient at cryochamber.bandcamp.com or their YouTube channel. If you want to support Red Moon Roleplaying, do check out our Patreon. The show would not be possible without all the generous support we are getting there. You give us so much energy, help us cover our costs, and open up time to record and edit. Thank you from the bottom of our hearts. And remember, praise Mormo.